You don't actually fear being judged. At least, not in the way you think. You fear what their judgment might mean about you. That's different. Because notice what happens. You want to post something online, your finger hovers over the button, suddenly your brain starts generating people. What will they think? Will this look stupid? Too cringe? Too desperate? Too much? And the weird part is, most of those people weren't thinking about you 5 seconds ago. But now they're living rent-free in your head, controlling your behavior. Silently. That's the part people miss. The fear of judgment rarely looks dramatic. It looks ordinary. It looks like deleting the message you typed, staying quiet in meetings, laughing when you disagree, dressing safer, speaking softer, pretending you don't care. It looks like becoming smaller, not all at once, bit by bit, until one day something feels off. You're functioning. You're productive enough. People even like you. But inside, there's this quiet exhaustion. Because being liked as a filtered version of yourself is tiring. You feel it at night, phone in hand, scrolling, watching people speak boldly, create freely, build openly. And part of you admires them, part of you envies them, and part of you thinks, must be nice not caring what people think. But here's the truth. They probably do care, more than you realize. The difference isn't that fearless people feel no judgment. The difference is, they stopped obeying it. That distinction changes everything, because maybe confidence was never the absence of fear. Maybe confidence is acting while fear keeps talking. But we're getting ahead. First, we need to talk about something uncomfortable. Most people think the fear of judgment starts in adulthood, social media, competition, modern pressure. No. Usually it starts much earlier. As a child, you learned something. Maybe nobody said it directly, but you felt it. Approval felt safe. Disapproval felt dangerous. When people were pleased with you, there was warmth, attention, connection. When they weren't, something changed. Tone changed. Energy changed. Distance appeared. And your nervous system learned fast. Very fast. Being accepted equals safety. Being rejected equals danger. That wiring doesn't disappear because you turned 18. It grows up with you. That's when the real problem begins. Because now your survival system starts operating in places it doesn't belong. A friend takes longer to reply. Your chest tightens. Your boss says, "Can we talk?" Instant anxiety. Someone's tone feels slightly off. Now you're replaying every interaction. What did I do wrong? Did I say too much? Too little? Were they annoyed? Mad? Disappointed? And this is where things fall apart. You call this overthinking. Sometimes it's something deeper. Hypervigilance. Constant scanning. Looking for signs of rejection before rejection happens. Why? Because if you detect danger early, maybe you can adapt. Please them. Fix it. Control the outcome. Sounds logical. It's exhausting. Because now you're no longer living life. You're managing perception, subtle difference, massive consequence. You stop asking, what do I actually want? And start asking, what version of me gets accepted? Read that again. Because this is the hidden trap. You become highly skilled at shape-shifting, different with friends, different with family, different online, different at work. Always adjusting, always calibrating, always performing. And at first, this feels harmless, adaptive even, social intelligence, emotional awareness. But wait until you realize why it becomes dangerous. When you constantly perform, you lose access to the unedited self. You stop knowing where the performance ends and where you begin. That's terrifying, because then a question starts haunting you. A brutal one. If people knew the real me, would they still stay? That question drives more behavior than most people realize. People-pleasing, perfectionism, chronic politeness, over-explaining, even fake productivity. Yes, fake productivity too. Because sometimes staying busy isn't ambition, it's protection. If you're always improving, always achieving, always useful. Maybe nobody can judge you. Maybe you'll finally become untouchable. But the strange part is, no achievement fixes this. Not permanently. You can get fitter, richer, smarter, more attractive. The fear adapts. Now you fear being exposed, and this changes everything. Here's the part most people miss. You think freedom from judgment means reaching a point where criticism no longer hurts. It doesn't. Criticism can still sting. Rejection can still hurt. Embarrassment can still burn. You're human. The goal was never emotional numbness. The goal is something much harder and much more freeing. To stop making other people's opinions your identity. That's the shift. Because right now, if someone rejects you, what happens? Be honest. You don't only feel pain. You assign meaning. They didn't like my idea. So maybe I'm not smart. They ignored me. So maybe I'm not important. They chose someone else. So maybe I'm not enough. See the jump? Event. Then interpretation. Then identity. That middle step ruins people. Because facts hurt less than stories. Someone's opinion is a fact. What you make it mean about yourself, that's the story. And most stories are brutal. Not because they're true, because they're old. Old fears, old wounds, old survival strategies, still running, still whispering, still deciding who you become. But here's something strange. The people you fear being judged by are usually trapped in the exact same prison. Think about that. The person you're scared will judge you, they're probably worrying about being judged too. They're checking their messages, replaying conversations, wondering if they sounded weird, comparing themselves to people online, same game, different character. Nobody talks about this enough. Most people are too busy managing their own image to obsess over yours, and even when they do judge you. So what? That question scares people. So what? Sit with it. Someone thinks you're awkward. So what? Someone thinks you're too quiet. So what? Too loud, too ambitious, too emotional, too weird, too much. So what? Because this is the truth that changes everything. No matter what you do, someone will misunderstand you. Always. You can explain perfectly, show up perfectly, perform perfectly. Still, someone will project their own insecurity onto you. Someone will dislike you for reasons that have nothing to do with you. That's not failure, that's reality. And weirdly, that's freedom. Because if judgment is unavoidable, why keep sacrificing yourself trying to prevent it? Why abandon your voice for an impossible deal? Think about how much life gets lost here. The message never sent, the idea never shared, the business never started, the boundary never spoken, the truth never said. Not because you lacked ability, because you feared perception. And that's tragic, because judgment doesn't only silence expression, it delays identity. You don't become yourself by thinking about who you are. You become yourself by expressing who you are. Messily, imperfectly, publicly, sometimes. That's the part nobody likes. You cannot build self-trust while constantly hiding. Read that again. Self-trust grows when your nervous system learns, I can survive disapproval. Not theoretically, experientially. You say no, they're disappointed. You survive, you speak up. Someone disagrees, you survive. You post the thing. Someone judges, you survive. And slowly, something rewires. You stop seeing judgment as danger. You start seeing it as information or noise. Sometimes useful, often irrelevant, but no longer identity. And this is where real confidence begins. Not when everyone approves. When approval stops being required. There's a massive difference. One version of confidence says, I hope they like me. The deeper version says, I'd prefer respect, but I can tolerate disapproval. That's power, quiet power, not loud, not performative, stable, real. And maybe the deepest truth is this. You were never afraid of judgment alone. You were afraid judgment would confirm your worst fear about yourself, that you're not enough, not lovable enough, not smart enough, not worthy enough. But what if that fear was never truth, only repetition? A thought repeated enough times becomes identity, unless challenged, so challenge it. Not with fake affirmations, with evidence. Look at your life. How many decisions were made to avoid discomfort? How much energy went into being digestible? How often did you betray yourself for approval? That question matters, because the cost of being liked by everyone is usually yourself. And that's too expensive. At some point you have to choose comfort, callous, or freedom, performance, or truth, approval, or peace. Because you cannot fully have both. Someone will always judge. Let them. Someone will misunderstand. Let them. Someone will dislike the real you. Let them. Better that than living loved for someone you're pretending to be. Because that loneliness, that's worse, much worse. So maybe freedom starts here, not by becoming fearless, but by becoming honest. Honest enough to admit you're tired, tired of shrinking, tired of performing, tired of treating people's opinions like commandments, and maybe, for the first time, you stop asking, what if they judge me, and ask something better. What does it cost me to keep hiding? That question changes everything, because the answer is usually your life. If this felt a little too real, maybe that's the part you shouldn't ignore.